Hello and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It is Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. Al Ferguson is on assignment. This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students and youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, HOTspots magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. He is a certified civil and family mediator and founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Originally from Hong Kong and having grown up across the world, he offers a global perspective on current events. Welcome, Bobby.
In the Gay Agenda, South Florida, Bowling with the Bears of South Florida, August 26th. Bowling with the Bears will go down at Manor Lane's Bowling and Sports Den Pub in Wilton Manors. Happy hours at 5 p.m. and bowling starts at 6. The venue is the time-tested bowling spots with 20 lanes, a game room, and a bar with craft beer and flat screens galore. Tickets are $35 and includes 2 games, shoes, pizza, and soda. And trophies will be rewarded. If bowling is not your thing, a $15 ticket includes pizza and soda. All participants in this event do so at their own risk. More information is available at bosfl.org.
Let's welcome anchor Amy McGrotty. Amy is known as the real estate-tologist. That's a real title. She went to school for that. She works alongside John Castelli and Rod Blacklock at Castelli Real Estate Services in Wilton Manor as part owner and residential and commercial sales. Welcome, Amy.
In the Gay Agenda, South Florida, Island City Stage offers Season 12 Flexpass. Become a Season 12 Flexpass member and save up to $110 with the Flexpass at Island City Stage. The Flexpass is just $185 and can be used in any combination you choose. Season 12 FlexPass benefits include no processing fees and extra discounts when you buy additional tickets with the pass. You also get ticket exchange privileges with just 24-hour notice. Anyone above 21 can buy this pass, and it comes with mimosa sundaes, along with Little Bites reception, a Light Bites reception, and a post-show talkback. Season 12 FlexPass holders productions include Love, Valor, Compassion, Which Way to the Stage, Pulp, Skin Tight, and Die, Mommy Die. Grab the pass now as they are available on a first-come, first-served basis. For more information, you can visit islandcitystage.org.
Let's welcome anchor Paul Thomas. He is currently the chairman of the LGBTQ plus advisory committee to the city of Miami Beach, on the board of directors for the Point Foundation, and on the endorsement committee for SAVE. Good evening, Paul.
In the gay agenda of South Florida, Ujima Men's Collective's Noir Diamond Awards Affair, October 14th. Ujima Men's Collective presents Our Noir Diamond Black Tie Gala. The event is October 14th at Gallery 1, a Doubletree Suites by Hilton Hotel, from 7 to 11 p.m. The gala recognizes deserving people in the community in leadership, advocacy, relationships, spirituality, health, and wellness. Ujima Men's Collective is a group of Black, same-gender loving men coming together to educate and build a strong network. The gala will feature popular musical artists like Naj and a stand-up set with comedian extraordinaire Samson. The evening will be filled with music and a silent auction. The evening benefits the Ujima Men's Collective and its programs. Tickets are $125. This gala matters to everyone and is open to everyone. For further information and tickets, visit ujimamen.net.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community around the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, August 15th. And we begin by queering up South Florida and Florida. Greater Fort Lauderdale brings the best of world cultures. Over the past century, Greater Fort Lauderdale has transformed from farmlands into one of the most dynamic destinations in the country, where you'll find both gold sand shores and swamplands, world-class museums and nature parks, and a melting pot of cuisines and cultures. With more than 170 countries represented, diversity is one of Greater Fort Lauderdale's strengths, and part of why the area is so popular for multicultural travel. The city of plantation Caribbean culture is celebrated and preserved at Island Space, a museum that acts as an archive and exhibition space to share the history and heritage of people from the Caribbean. Greater Fort Lauderdale's diverse spirit even extends to sports like cricket, a national sport in countries like England, Jamaica, Barbados, and Grenada. The 110-acre Central Broward Regional Park and Central Broward Stadium features 2 cricket fields and was the first in the country to receive certification by the International Cricket Council to host international matches. Enjoy the flavors, Caribbean style and Latin fusion cuisine, and some of the South's best soul food and barbecue. Visit exhibits like the African American Research Library and Cultural Center. Discover the heritage of the Seminole Indians. Explore some of the hidden gems of diversity in the county, places with their own unique rhythms and cultural ambiance. These are just some of the reasons you'll want to visit Lauderdale, everyone under the sun. I love that spot, and honestly, I love that entire campaign. We just had this last weekend, to put an exclamation point on this, we just had Pride Fete, which celebrated queer Caribbean culture in the heart of Wilton Manors, and it was a big success. It grew from last year. I haven't seen the final numbers, but just being there, you could tell. The energy was high, the dancers were great, the food booth was turning out some delicious and a little spicy food, and that's coming from me, who like douses everything in hot sauce. So it was just a great time, and it's just one example of how Visit Lauderdale looks to include everyone under the sun.
Yeah, I was watching this and I was remembering, as a kid, I'm a military brat, and my father used to say, some people vacation and some people travel. And we don't vacation, we travel. And when we go somewhere, we want to learn about the culture and we want to experience all the different things that a place has to offer. And so I was watching this thinking that gives an area like Fort Lauderdale or an area like Southern, but we're talking about Fort Lauderdale, some depth, right? And it gives it an identity and it gives it its own type of culture, because when you come, the beaches are beautiful, that's for sure. But the people and the heart and the soul, that's really the experience that you want people to have a full experience, in my opinion, right? The idea of just laying on a beach for 7 days and never ever checking out a museum or never ever going to taste some different food is like kind of sad to me. So I'm glad they're highlighting that, right? And letting people be aware that there's a lot more here than just the beautiful people on the beach.
Although a beach day isn't bad.
A beach day is never bad.
Well, right now it's like 1,000 degrees out. The beach day means you're basically being roasted by the sun. But I mean, I always tell people to, when they come to, back when I did rideshare driving, I pick up people and they're visiting, and I'll point out everything that is, I mean, no offense to the beach, but west of the beach. There are a lot of things that are just west of the beach. And also bear in mind that we also have fabulous casino in the former Guitar Hotel, the giant thing that looks like a Vegas attraction. And right next to it is actually some of the densest, highly densely packed population of Asian businesses around there. Just right on Sterling, just behind the hotel. That's where you can find like my favorite Chinese place, my favorite hot pot place, my favorite Asian market. It's a little cluster. Wow. And there's actually several of them, small clusters. I mean, we don't have a formal Chinatown. That community just don't get together the way that's, in New York or Boston, but we have some really good Asian places to find, but you have to leave the beach to find it. Right. Just get out of Las Olas, get out of the beach. Yeah.
I like the way the campaign talks about the history and includes the Seminole Indians. I mean, so many people forget about that. They're so busy like pushing the beach, and it's like, who was here first? Right. And who built it out? Evidenced by the guitar and the tribe, the sovereign nation that they are. So that's cool. And there's just so many things to do, from Wilton Manors to the beach. And the agricultural history. Dania Beach was all tomato farms and strawberry farms.
Wow.
The oldest city in Broward. Yeah, there's a lot of history here.
There really is. There really is. And, the Hard Rock Casino that you were talking about, the Guitar Hotel, that is actually going to be a Vegas attraction as well. Yeah. Because they're building one on the site of the old Mirage Hotel on the Vegas Strip.
Actually, they're replacing the fake volcano in front of it. I don't think they're tearing that old building, just building right in front of it. They're building the guitar.
Wait, that volcano's not real? Girl, you're shattering my world. Get down here, see the hotel all lit up, and remember, when you see it in Vegas, just remember, Fort Lauderdale did it best, and they did it first.
That's true. All right, let's queer up entertainment. Jason Mraz celebrates being openly bisexual.
Mraz says he's grown more comfortable with vulnerability and personal expression over the years, leaving behind his conservative hometown in Virginia. Just a flashback, because you've since come out as bisexual, but in 1999, we were in a very different place in the country. During your decision making to leave, how much of that had to do with homophobia?
A lot. I love my parents, but they're the last people I'd want to come out in front of. But now, in my adult life, they're the most supportive people. But when I'm young, living in a very conservative town, it was not something I felt pursuing, those curiosities, not publicly.
Mraz never looked back, evolving and blossoming in Southern California ever since.
During a 2018 interview, the I'm Your Singer, Jason Mraz, came out as bisexual and explained he had sexual relations with men even after already being married to Christina Carano, who was supportive of him experimenting with his sexuality. After being married for 8 years, Mraz announced that he was divorcing Carano in June. In an interview with The Advocates, he says his new album mystical, magical, rhythmical, radical ride was influenced by his pushing himself to experience life differently. He said in the interview, and I quote, "I will admit that I probably spent the first close to 20 years of my career just broadcasting as hetero. You know, saying girl a lot of my songs, and a lot of that was growing up on a conservative street and growing up around homophobia, and feeling like I need to protect some secrets. I was having these curiosities and experiences on the side that were starting to influence who I am and the kind of fun I wanted to have in the world and the kind of person I want to be in the world, which is more honest and more loving and more inclusive," end quote. Well, welcome to the club. Your toaster will arrive shortly. Wait, gay men get toasters. Do bisexuals get toasters? I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a stereotypical joke, you know. Welcome to the club. We're going to send you a toaster. Anyways, good for him. I mean, I remember enjoying his music back in the early 2000s-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was fun. It was poppy. Apparently he's only 2 years older than I am. Oh my Lord, I'm getting old.
Well, I like it that celebrities are coming out and showing that the general public who maybe perhaps hates on us most of the time, who loves this guy and he's coming out, so he's helping maybe in the acceptance in the face of all this other horrible stuff that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think coming out is still just always important, and I love him coming out as bisexual, giving us an opportunity to talk more about gender and sexuality in a broad manner, and getting us farther away from the binary and allowing other people at home to see themselves in that, because prior to people coming out, people just suffered, and they shouldn't have to suffer because it's all very, very normal. Right. I mean, we know in healthcare that sexuality is just a huge spectrum, and that there's very few people actually who are 100% heterosexual and very few people that are 100% homosexual, and everyone else is somewhere in the gray area. So allowing us to have these conversations, allow somebody else living on a conservative street to see themselves and go, hey, I don't have to kill myself. There's someone else in the world like me, you know, which was always our importance for coming out, right? And so, good for him.
Yeah.
I'm loving how you think you're getting old. I'm loving how the young people are kind of.
Oh,
I'm old.
The 46-year-old young people.
Yeah, the 46-year-old young people. I love the other.
You know, to your point, coming out is important, but it is not required. Everybody has their own path. They make the choices to stay in the closet or to open up based on their own life and circumstances. The only time I'm ever in favor of outing people is when they've been hypocritical, when they've when they've condemned you and gays for made a career on it, and then turns out they're getting
a certain senator from Minnesota, the Minnesota airport incident.
Idaho. Well, either way,
there's a whole bunch.
But there's just so many.
A lot of them.
But my point is that it's important. And Jason Mraz hasn't been a hater. He's been an ally, certainly. And for him to come out now is a positive step for not just his fans, but for the community as a whole. And just because he went around saying "girl" in his songs when he was younger, that doesn't mean we didn't know. I mean, because I say "girl" all the time.
Girl.
Girl.
As in, girl. You've got the next story.
Okay. So next, let's queer up sports. NBA Hall of Famer and former Miami resident Dwayne Wade on how his trans daughter made him an LGBTQ plus ally.
Wade says he's also learning a lot from his children. He shares a blended family with his wife. Actress Gabrielle Union, Wade's daughter Zaya, came out as transgender in 2020. Since then, Wade and Union have been vocal advocates for LGBTQ plus rights. How important is it for that to be a part of your legacy?
I didn't set out for it to be. It's important for me to support my daughter. And in the middle of doing that, I've become an ally to a community that I didn't know a lot about. that I've had to get educated, about. I said to my daughter all the time, I'm so thankful that I'm your father. I've learned so much about love.
Over the weekend, former Miami Heat star Dwayne Wade was welcomed into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. Wade's daughter, Zaya, posted on Instagram, quote, "My dad is a Hall of Famer. I've never been so proud in my life to know someone as kind, loving, and accepting as he is. He is one of my best friends. I love you, Dad." End quote. Wade and his wife, actress Gabrielle Union, moved out of Florida in 2021. They have cited moving somewhere with a supportive community for their transgender daughter was a big part of the move. During his acceptance speech at the Hall of Fame, Wade spoke about his family, saying, quote, "To my loved ones, the ones who have become my lifeline, y'all are my safe haven, a place where I can always retreat to with minimum fear of judgment. I've laughed with you, I've been saved by you, I'm protected by you, and I'm loved by you. I am who I am because of all of you. You're the embodiment of unconditional love, and that's all I ever wanted and needed. That's all I ever wanted to show in return." End quote. Okay, I love this guy. First of all, right, we're going to note that the lesbian got the sports story. But I do.
Do you think I know anything about sports?
That's true. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, I love him. I always have, especially when his daughter came out and hit the news, and it was just nothing but support from him and his wife and the whole family. And I'm sorry that he left Florida because he's a Miami native, I believe. See, I know a little bit about sports
he's
now.
From Chicagoland.
Oh, bummer. I thought he was from Miami.
Yeah,
But he played here for the vast majority of his
that much
career.
I know.
Yeah.
He played for the Heat
I
for
heard he
most
was
of his
from
life.
the 305. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But I do love his shirt, too, in that interview. Did you like that shirt? He's got fashion sense.
Yeah. Oh, he always, but look at his wife. Even if he didn't before that
Drop
marriage,
dead gorgeous.
she's going to.
She has not aged a single day.
They're
I swear.
beautiful people. Though.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
Beautiful people, and really for a sports figure,
Yeah, big too.
for quite a few years now, he has been out front and center in support of his children.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the most amazing, beautiful thing, courageous thing to see, right? Because it's very, very easy to just hate someone that you don't understand. And it's very, very easy to just, take that really low road and make judgments about people just because someone told you something that was incorrect. He mentioned that he took the time, he had to get educated, he had to find out what is going on. And he decided, hey, I'm going to protect my child. And he and his wife, this is about him, but he and his wife have really been beyond allies. They've really been the kind of example that other parents need to see. Other parents that aren't sure what's going on, and maybe they can't leave the state that they're in to move to a more supportive community, and they're stuck living on that conservative road, and they don't know what to do. He's a really, really great example of how you stand up for your child, and you love them unconditionally. Because when it comes down to it, it's all about unconditional love anyway.
I remember when this all started, for lack of a better term, no pun intended, but when this started coming out a few years ago, I was working in a newsroom, and a couple of days before the story really broke, we started hearing rumblings. Like there was something big coming up, people from inside his world were starting to sort of like soften the ground a little bit, so we kind of knew what was coming. And I remember thinking, this is going to be incredibly ugly or incredibly beautiful. And it turned out to be incredibly beautiful. Just the way he has embraced Zaya. I mean, being in pride parades. I think they were in Miami Beach's pride parade a couple of times, and you've got D. Wade and Zaya and Gabby sitting there on the float. I mean, just beaming with pride. And I have no doubt that, as Zaya's Instagram post said, I am so, she is proud of her parents, and her parents are so incredibly proud. So she is so lucky. And we are very lucky to have him as an ally, especially here in Florida, because he's still beloved. It's always going to be Wade County for diehards.
Right, but we have to also give we have to notice that without those spaces, without prides being safe places, then there's nowhere for him to get on the float, right? And it's taken society in general. I'm thinking back to when Magic Johnson came out, because I'm from that generation, and said that he had HIV. There was nowhere to find support. They tried to destroy this poor man, and to his credit, he didn't get destroyed by it. Dwayne Wade, it's been different for him because society's been different, because there's a lot more good people in the world than bad people. The bad ones are loud as hell, but there's a lot more good people than bad. And we do have these safe places, and we do have communities now where people can ask questions, find community, right? And find a way forward. And so it's like, let's not forget that a lot of people suffered so that we could have a Miami Beach Pride, so that we could have a pride in general, right? We've been fighting for those safe spaces for a reason, right? And he's a great example of when he needed somewhere to go, he knew where to go.
He had a platform.
And everybody was there waiting for him with open arms to go, what do you need from us? We need to get on a float. Okay, we'll get you on a float. We'll get you on a float. What do you need? You in journalism, what do you need? I need an article. Here you go. We'll write an article about it, right? We'll do what we can to make it better for the next person coming behind us. So I think all around a fantastic story.
Absolutely. Zaya.
Wonderful.
Zaya and Gabby and D. Wade, we appreciate you and we thank you very much.
Come on, Happening Out TV.
Yeah, come on down. I have this chair.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Next, we're going to Queer Up HOTspots. HOTspots magazine on stands Thursday celebrates Broadway across South Florida. The new HOTspots magazine on stands Thursday celebrates the hottest Broadway hits coming to South Florida. The Bank of America Broadway and Fort Lauderdale series, sponsored by Nicholas Children's Hospital, has announced their 2023-2024 season at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. The season includes 5 Fort Lauderdale premieres: Funny Girl, Hadestown, Moulin Rouge, the musical, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Clue. The season also features the return of Annie and the Book of Mormon. The Miami-Dade County Broadway Across America at the Adrian Arts Center includes 2 South Florida premieres, The Cher Show and Peter Pan. It also features the Miami premiere of Pretty Woman, the musical. Kravis on Broadway in Palm Beach features 6 West Palm Beach premieres, as well as top favorites like Hamilton, Mean Girls, and Beetlejuice. Make sure to pick up the new issue on stands Thursday to find out the full schedule. This is fantastic. I'm from New York originally. I'm a huge arts and culture fan. I think life is just not the same without being able to sit and live out these other lives through these different mediums. I'm so excited to see.
All Broadway queens.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see South Florida have so much entertainment being shown, so many different conversations, from Hamilton to Annie to the Book of Mormon, in a state that's trying to not teach history and not teach math and not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they're doing, but since, we're facing to show that the cities down here in South Florida are stepping up and going, we're gonna have our productions and we're gonna expand people's minds and give people those safe spaces to explore that. I'm loving it. I hadn't heard of it before this story, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna check some of these out.
Absolutely.
And as I've said it before, and I'll say it again to the people who are watching this, who are considering to not traveling to Florida because of Ron DeSantis, do not punish the blue counties. The blue counties like Miami-Dade, Fort Lauderdale, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. We are the ones here, and we are the tourist centers. Orlando is a tourist center. We are not DeSantis fans. These people are, the state government does not represent us. The state government is trying to punish us. So please come visit fill our wallets with your tourist money so that we can fight back.
Or just come and have fun. Great shows. Thank you, New Yorkers, because you brought all that culture to Florida.
Yeah.
You know, and you talked about seeing like the shows with the original Broadway cast and everything. And yeah, we get the touring companies that come down here, but like on big shows like Mean Girls and Hamilton, they've got more than one touring company going across the country at any one time. And we get the A-list. Yeah. We get the best touring companies.
Fantastic.
And sometimes, and you can't advertise it because you never know what's going to happen, but sometimes some of the performers will come down and like do an after party show at the pub, where they just come in and they just start singing. And you can't plan for it. You never know when it's going to happen, but it happens. And it's always such a rockin' time when it happens. I have a couple of quick questions.
Joe Allen's in the New York City days. Everybody after Broadway would go to Joe Allen's and just hang out. It'd be like Fame.
Oh, W.W. Allen. Cher is coming. Now, the original Broadway show had 3 Chers playing her at each stage of life. So I am happy to interview all 3 Chers when they come to town and let you know how they compare to the actual Cher, who's a very good friend of mine and I've met. Second of all, Moulin Rouge, the musical. Wasn't Moulin Rouge like a musical when it was?
Yeah, it is.
When it was released. So okay, so if it's even more musicaler, then I'm completely here for it because the movie was fantastic.
Are we just repeating what Baz Luhrmann does, or I don't?
There are worse people to repeat.
That's true.
There are absolutely worse people to repeat.
An exciting show for sure.
Yeah, so it's It's middle of August now. Season starts kicking off in September and October. So I'm 100% here for it.
Absolutely.
Now let's queer up education. Congressman Matt Gaetz pushes for prayer in school to counter Pansexual Poetry Hour. Republican Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is pushing a bill to allow public prayer in schools. He's also slamming what he says is propaganda being taught in schools and across the nation. The legislation is known as the National Prayer in Schools Act. Gaetz claims while it is not a reflection of what he sees in Northwest Florida schools and schools across the state, there is what he calls degenerate content making its way into schools across the nation. He says if that is allowed, prayer should be allowed too. Gaetz said, quote, "The far left gender ideology and divisive race ideology that we've seen in other parts of the country has really permeated the school system. I think that more space for prayer for students in schools is probably better than creating more space for, the next Pansexual Poetry Hour in Portland." End quote. When we were first doing this story, when we were going through the stories before the show, I accidentally confused poetry with pottery. But it turns out it doesn't matter if I confuse it because they're both equally as ridiculous as Matt Gaetz is.
I mean, both are arts, and they are terrified of art. They're just terrified of art. I mean, the Matt Gaetz. I mean, for one thing, no one banned school prayer. You just cannot officially endorse a religion, or and even coaches can offer prayers. You just have to give other people who are not praying an equal time. But the biggest danger about legislating school prayer is that the majority wins. If if the school made out of 90% Christian and 10% Jewish, which side do you think is going to get bullied when it comes to prayer time?
The problem that bothers me in his rhetoric is that his terminology is just incorrect. Really? He keeps saying that there's a leftist ideology, and there's not. When we do research in healthcare about gender and sexuality, that's scientific research, and we have data that proves things. When educators do research in how to construct a classroom, what's important, how do students best learn, that's not an ideology. That's not people sitting around and kind of going, oh, we're all going to like green this week, right? And you can't even talk about these things without being able to prove data and have people look at your research and make sure that what you're saying is correct. And so his idea of, well, let's just throw prayer in school. Now that's an ideology. There's no data to prove anything in any of those books. That's 100% ideology, right? That's just made up. But now these are not equal. And it's really, really important whenever they use that terminology, we have to make sure that we push back on their rhetoric. These are not equal things to compare. Medical science is not an ideology. Understanding gender identity is not an ideology. It's backed up by science. It's backed up by decades and decades of research from all around the globe. One of the reasons why one of his laws got thrown out about gender affirming care was because the Judge Hinckley said, I can't find one medical doctor on the whole planet that agrees with you. Right. Because what he brought to court was an ideology. What we bring to the classroom and to our healthcare settings is science. These are not the same things, right? These things are spreading across the schools around America for a very important reason.
Oh, they are not the same thing. But
they're not the same things.
Paul, the thing is, though, they know that. They know that they're not the same thing. They used the word ideology the same way that previous homophobic politicians use lifestyle. Remember, it's a gay and lesbian lifestyle. You give up this lifestyle. You know, by saying there's an ideology, is depicted as something that is discarded instead of it is ingrained into us. If my gender is cis male, then I am cis male. If your gender is man or woman, that's your gender. The thing they are trying to portray it as like something that you can pick out of the menu. Like, no,
well, they're
doesn't work like that.
And he says it as if these are like things that are very off the cuff. They're things that aren't important. We were just talking about suicide rates, and these things are very, very important. They're not ideologies. They're all backed up by numbers and science and data and decades of research. And it's really, really important that we make sure that ideologies, that religious ideologies, don't enter schools with information that's not correct and can't be backed up by any type of data, and make sure that the things that we know are true are the things that we're teaching. Right? And making sure that people are safe in these environments. Very, very dangerous what he's proposing. There's a lot of hatred in all of those religions. The classrooms are not going to be safe places. If everybody in their religion and who hates what, and certain religions, you got to be covered from head to toe. You can't speak. You can't, come on. The classrooms would be completely insane over ideologies. That's not what we're proposing.
And whatever happened to separation of church and state?
Exactly.
Quit bringing that up. If you're in public school, now I'm old enough,
right?
Probably older than all of you guys.
We're probably
combined.
The same.
Combined.
We're probably the same.
I remember that there was prayer in the classroom. I was born and raised in Miami, and we prayed in the classroom. I didn't pray because I was not a person who believed in any institutional or organized religion, but I just shut up while everybody, bowed their head and had their little pray time, no skin off my back. I didn't feel pressured into it. But when you have someone saying, pray, or the implication is if you don't, you're some kind of a degenerate, then that causes a problem.
What they did in my day was we had silent meditation. So they would just, if you chose for that 1 minute at the beginning of school, if you chose to pray, that's on you. If you chose to do whatever you chose to do, just be quiet. Just be quiet for 1 minute.
No, Amy,
you can do whatever you want with that time.
It was spitballs for Jesus. No, it's fine.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sick of Matt Gaetz.
Now, here's a look at some of the stories you'll find in Out South Florida. On stands Thursday and online always. This week in Out South Florida, powered by Queer News Tonight. I'm Out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. In this week's issue, community support for a new hotel in Wilton Manors is generally positive, but far from unanimous. We dive into community concerns. Also, it's not getting better. Turmoil at the Trevor Project roils the organization, and it's the kids that will suffer. And Doris Day is back. Meet the most adorable micro-marketing team that's taking the drive by storm. I'm John Hayden. Those stories and more in Out South Florida. On stands now and always updated online.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV? Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the wide world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm John Hayden. And before we go, I'd like to thank my mom and my dad for everything that you've ever given me and the support you've given me throughout my entire life. I love you both, and I clearly wouldn't be here today without either of you. So thank you. And I am John Hayden. And on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Dr. Bobby Huen, Dr. Amy McGrotty, and Dr. Paul Thomas, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
Bye.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.